August 6, 1945. Dawn breaks slowly over the Pacific. On the small island of Tinian, mist hangs low over the runway. A massive silver aircraft waits in silence. The B-29 Enola Gay. Its engines still cold. Its mission unknown to most of the men around it. Crewmen move quietly, fastening straps, checking instruments. Only one man knows the full truth of what they carry. Colonel Paul Tibbets. He turns to his crew and says calmly, "Let's make the world a safer place." Then he climbs into the cockpit, touches the control panel like it's sacred metal. Moments later, the engines roar to life, shaking the ground as mechanics salute from below. The aircraft rolls forward and lifts into the pale morning sky. Behind them, an island fading into mist. Ahead, a city that has no idea it's about to vanish. 8:15 a.m. over Hiroshima. From 30,000 feet, a lone observer on the ground spots a small silver dot moving across the clear blue sky. He doesn't know that it carries a weapon the world has never seen before. Inside the cockpit, Tibbets presses a small red button. The bomb falls slowly, spinning in silence like a toy. 43 seconds later, the sky becomes brighter than the sun. A blinding flash engulfs the city. Streets, homes, and people disappear in an instant. At the heart of the blast, a massive cloud rises, the first mushroom cloud in human history. Everything that follows is silence, a silence heavy enough to echo through the centuries. While Hiroshima still burned, the world hadn't yet understood what had happened. 3 days later, on the morning of August 9th, 1945, another B-29 superfortress appeared, this time above Nagasaki. Inside the plane, the crew moved silently. They had seen what one bomb could do, and now they carried another. The clouds were heavy that morning, hiding the city beneath them, and for a few moments it seemed the mission might be called off. But the sky opened just enough. And through that break in the clouds, a second sun was born. A flash brighter than anything seen before illuminated the valley. Buildings vanished. The hills shook. The sound reached miles away. The fire rose high and twisted into a vast, boiling cloud, the second mushroom to scar the sky of Japan. In Tokyo, Emperor Hirohito sat in stunned silence. One of his generals whispered, "A new sun has risen over Japan." But it was not a sun of life. It was a sun of death. Within hours, messages were sent to prepare for surrender. The empire that had fought for years was now broken, not by soldiers, but by light itself. The fire had faded, but its echo lingered in the air. Where once there were homes, now there was only silence, a city reduced to dust and memory. In Nagasaki, the morning light returned slowly, revealing twisted steel, broken bridges, and streets that led nowhere. Civilians wandered in disbelief, searching for faces that would never appear again. Children clutched small bundles of belongings, walking through a landscape that no longer felt like home. Miles away, in Tokyo, Emperor Hirohito sat at his desk, the paper walls of the imperial palace glowing softly with morning light. For the first time in history, the divine voice of Japan would speak to its people, not in command, but in surrender. Across the nation, radios crackled. Farmers stopped in their fields, soldiers paused in silence, and families gathered in the ruins to listen. "Endure the unendurable." The emperor's voice trembled through static. "Bear the unbearable." It was the sound of an empire breaking, not in battle, but in acceptance. Outside, the air was still. Ash drifted like snow over what once was Nagasaki. The war was over, but the silence felt heavier than the fire itself. August 15th, 1945. Across Japan, the sound of static filled the radios. Then came a trembling voice. It was the Emperor himself speaking to his people for the very first time. Greater than, we must endure the unendurable and bear the unbearable. In that moment, an empire built on conquest laid down its sword. The war that had engulfed the world for 6 long years was finally over. American warships entered Tokyo Bay beneath a calm, blue sky. On the deck of the USS Missouri, Japanese and Allied officers stood face to face, not as enemies, but as witnesses to the end of an era. Pens replaced rifles. Words replaced fire. When the ink dried, silence fell once more. But this time, it was a silence filled with hope. In the months that followed, Japan began to rise from its ashes. Women cleared rubble by hand, children returned to school, and factories once used for war began building machines of peace. American soldiers distributed food and medicine, and for the first time in years, laughter returned to the streets. From the ruins of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, a new Japan emerged, disciplined, determined, and devoted to rebuilding. The light that once destroyed now powered a nation's rebirth. And as the sun rose over the quiet coastline, the world saw not the end of war, but the beginning of a new age, one born from the fire and shaped by peace.